Last night, the media four had its one very dog happened once again. Still basking in the glory of watching Arsenal's title rivals crumble before our eyes. Liverpool losing their fourth straight to Brentford, Man City getting humbled by Villa. It was pure, unfiltered football joy. We spent most of the evening just staring lovingly at the Premier League table, occasionally zooming in for some extra satisfaction. But eventually duty called, so after a few victory snacks and some questionable dancing from the dog, we toiled and burned the midnight oil to bring you yet another scientifically crafted, emotionally biased, and spiritually correct list. And now, without further ado, it's time for Anton'S Tears. Hello, everybody, and welcome along to Hotsport. Yes, we are here for Anton'S Tears earlier than usual, and just a bit of a disclaimer, we're actually changing the scheduling of our videos. We are just looking to have more videos, at least one video a day. And to be honest as well, it sparked from the fact that I was just so keen to share these tears with you guys earlier in the week, because just a game-changing weekend, I would probably say, in the Premier League. And it feels like I'm excited every single weekend after the Premier League because it's just the best league in the world, and it's always constantly just providing us with amazing drama. But guys, before we get into Anton'S Tears for this week, make sure you're hitting the like button, all right? Make sure you are liking. It helps me grow the channel, helps me get this video out to more people, and make sure you're subscribing for some amazing, wonderful content. It's coming a lot more often than normal. And yes, for all of my fans are asking me, where's the NFL stuff? To be honest, Premier League has really taken the center stage for me in my life and my career at the moment, but the NFL stuff will be coming. But right now, it's time for Anton'S Tears. Well, let's begin. Bottom row. By the way, make sure that you are hitting the QR code to subscribe to Fire Them Cannons, because, you know, it's a good podcast, and I mean it. It's a great podcast. Just check it out. Anyway, here we go. Bottom row. Relegated? Question mark? Wolves. Look, the question has to be asked. We're at the quarter pole of the season, guys. This is between rounds 9 and 10. This is the quarter pole of the season. And all Wolves have gotten so far is a measly 2 points. Now, if we're going by that, it's the quarter part of the season, right? 2 times 4 equals 8. 8 points would be the worst tally in the history of the Premier League and would get you relegated at a tremendous level. Like, this Wolves team looks like just a punching bag to me. Even Burnley went away to Wolves and won. Now, it was at the end, it was at the death, but they were 2-0 up as well. And got to give credit to Wolves. They showed a little bit of fight, but at the end of the day, their overall quality was still not even good enough for Burnley. For me, that was like an eye-opener. Wolves cannot have any company at the bottom of these tiers. They are all alone. They are a tier below the rest of the competition. That is Wolves. Awful, 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 awful. Next up, Russian roulette. Now, guys, you guys know what Russian roulette is, right? It's that game where, like, you spin the wheel, and if it, and it lands on, like, either you win or you lose. And if you lose, you get shot in the head and you die. But if you win, I think you get to stay alive or something. Something involving that type of stuff, right? Russian roulette. That's the point of the season where these 4 clubs are at. So there are 4 of these in here. 2 of them will survive. 2 of them will get relegated. I'm actually pretty certain of that. That, like, if you look at the season, the table so far, and I know this is not the table, but the bottom 5 teams, right, and problem 6 teams, really, if you include Leeds, but Leeds and Burnley, sorry. But I actually think that 2 of these 4 were going to get relegated. It might be that the two that survive might go higher up the tiers, but 2 of these 4 are going to get relegated, in my opinion. And I'll start with Fulham. They started off the season, I thought, pretty well. I mean, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, they beat Brentford 3-1. But now they've lost 4 in a row. Just like a different team that's higher up the tiers, we all know who I'm talking about. But for a team like Fulham, losing 4 in a row isn't like unexpected. But at this point in time, it's just... It can also be dangerous. When you're sitting down here, four losses in a row puts you in the relegation zone. And that's exactly where Fulham is about. In fact, they're just outside. They're at 17th right now in the Prem. They're sitting just outside the relegation zone. And look, last week I let them off the hook. I said there's no shame in losing to Arsenal. And look, they were this close, this close to getting points at St. James's Park. It's not like Fulham have been tremendously awful. I think it's been fine margins, with the exception of I'd say the Bournemouth game. But even with Arsenal, right? That was fine margins. So that was 2-0. This one was 2-1. So they're playing some pretty good teams and sticking in the fight, but they just don't have the overall quality to put it away. Newcastle desperately needed that one as well. So, yeah, Guimaraes gave them the 3 points. We'll get back to that later on. But for Fulham, it's just 4 straight losses in a row. Now Leeds. Let's say it gets to Leeds. Leeds, I'm going to be as nice to them as possible because of the teams on here. I think they're the best ones. They're the ones with a higher likelihood to move up the tiers. And again, they had West Ham on Friday night, and they beat them. They jumped on them quick. 2-0 up before you could blink. And I think that at Ellen Road, Leeds can be dangerous, but they're just too inconsistent. They're also, the talent is not really quite there. I said that I believe that they could survive this season. I still think that there's a chance. As I said, 2 of the 4. And speaking of the 2 that I think are more likely to go down, and that's because their form has been brutal. Forest. And how are Forest playing Russian roulette? Well, they're playing Russian roulette because they've had 3 managers this season. They brought in Sean Dyche, and nothing looks different. Now, of course, you can say give it time. But did they give Ange time? This is the way I'm going to be this year. You know, if you're going to behave in a certain way, if you have certain standards or a certain, narrative that you want to push or rules that you want to play by, then I'm going to play by those rules. And they didn't allow Ange barely, 5 games in Premier League before they sacked him? That's Russian roulette. First of all, to get your most successful manager in years, Russian roulette. And now you've gone to Sean Dyche, the 3rd one. You have to hang on to this guy. Because otherwise, Marinakis, if he's not already looked at as unstable, will be confirmed to be unstable. Because what you're saying at that point is that this ship is sinking and no one can save it. So I believe that the Forest are down here in the bottom 2 tiers because of one man and one man over only, and that is their owner Marinakis. That's it. The sole reason for why they are here. And then there's West Ham. Again, former manager of Forest is now with West Ham, and they thought that he could turn this ship around. I don't see anything different, boys. I don't see any different. They're losing games at home. They're losing to Leeds on a Friday night. They looked abysmal. They looked embarrassing. That's another club that thinks that sacking managers is the solution. I mean, last year they had David Moyes, won them a cup 2 years ago, right? Won them a cup, sacked him, got Lopetegui, sacked him, brought in Graham Potter, sacked him. Now they brought in Nuno. Again, that's Russian roulette as well, for the same reasons. You've taken two talented sides that were pushing up the upper parts of the table, and you've completely ruined them and ruined the consistency and the camaraderie because you got players who were bought for different managers. David Moyes had certain players. Lopetegui, they invested in Lopetegui last year. They brought in so many of these players last year for Julian Lopetegui, and then they cut the cord. And then this summer, I was like, Callum Wilson, really? Like, yeah, no. I mean, the form has been bad. Again, it's beyond football for me, for some of these teams and how their form is. Fulham and Leeds, I think there's hope. Forest and West Ham. Again, they were in the relegated tier last week. But I moved them off just because I just think Wolves are just way, way worse. Next up, I've spent too long on the bottom 5 teams in the Premier League this week. Next up, passing ships. Now, why I say that is because, like, I feel like these two teams are like going like this. It's like you're sitting in the, passing ships in the night is the term that people have used before. And it's like, I feel like they're both going in two separate directions. Everton were hovering at the top. They were actually having a really nice start to the season. But now I think they're starting to move stale. And they gave them an excuse last week like I did for Fulham because of the fact they played City, because of the fact that Grealish couldn't play. And Tottenham absolutely battered them. From set pieces, by the way. And that was at home at the Hill Dickinson Stadium. So the form is really going down the toilet for Everton and for Burnley. I had them as, again, I say it every week, I had them as the worst team in the league coming into the season. I thought they were the worst group of talent. But they look good. 3 goals away from home, I don't care where it is. That's impressed. I know it's at Molyneux. But they just showed they were a tier above. They did. Now, again, they are a relegation kind of team, a promotion team. Therefore, I'm not going to be as hard on them on blowing a 2-0 lead away from home. But this is a team that it seems like, at least for now, at the quarter pole of the season, has got enough to stay up in this league. Let's see how this goes. Let's see if they can maintain that. But yeah, they're a team that was on the bottom rows of earlier, and now they're starting to move up the tiers. And Everton were higher up, and now they're starting to come down. So I feel like they're passing ships, just on their way to each other's destinations. One's flying from Dubai to London, the other one's flying from London to Dubai. Just passing right across. Next up, Giant Killers. Now, look, I gotta apologize, because obviously last week, I had the exact same teams on the exact same tiers, but it was a tier below, and I called it, I still have my doubts. Well, I got wrong versus right. New video coming out. I'm going to try tomorrow. But this was one where I got wrong. Not only did they prove my doubts wrong, they're the Giant Killers. Villa hosted City, beat Man City. Brentford beat Liverpool. Sunderland went away to Stamford Bridge and beat Chelsea. These teams aren't quite. I'm never really going to get. I mean, Villa have a chance. Of course, Sunderland are what, 3rd in the Premier League now. So I got to give credit to them. Brentford, I thought that was something I was wrong. I had them in the relegation fight this year. They will not be. And yeah, I mean, how good were Brentford, by the way? Like, forget about Liverpool for a second, because we're going to get to that when we get to Liverpool. But I thought that Brentford were really good. They outfought them. They jumped on them early. Ouattara, that beautiful goal from the set piece at the start from the long throw, which I absolutely love, by the way. Not Jurgen Klopp. Arne Slot is literally putting out the roadmap for how to beat his team. He's like, I hate defending set pieces. And everyone's like, guess what we're going to do? Oh, set pieces and long throws. We're going to do some set pieces and we're going to do some long throws if you don't like it so much. How that? Keith Andrews has done a tremendous job. By the way, set piece coach. Why Liverpool surprised? And Villa, by the way, are back. What is that? 4 straight wins now, and now they've beaten City. Yeah, and they're moving up the tiers. And again, some of the teams above the tiers I have a little bit more belief in at the moment. The Villa could shoot up, and Sunderland. Well, the beauty of it for Sunderland, this is why they're here on this tier. Yes, they're third in the league, but if this is the floor, if this is where they fall to by the end of the season. Which is what? We're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right around somewhere in just at the top of the bottom 10. That's way above expectations for them this year. And just, by the way, Brian Broby, I said that was a really good signing for them. The way he had that ball up and found Talby for that winner at the bridge, that was absolutely clutch. Man. Give a round of applause to these 3 teams. Thank you so much. I should be saying that to begin with. Because these 3 teams, what they have done, they've shaped my club's season. They have shaped my club's season. And we will get to my club. And obviously, where I must have put them. Well, sorry, I've been yawning. We're recording this in the evening. But Matty Cash, thank you very much. Everyone thought that City was the one on Arsenal's ass. No longer. Thank you, Matty Cash. Thank you to all the Brentford goal scorers. Thank you to Ouattara for winning a penalty as well as scoring. Thank you to what's his face? Igor Thiago, right? And remind me of the third goal scorer. What's his face? Kevin Shada. Thank you to those 3 men, and thank you, Sunderland. Oh, thank you to Talby, especially most notably. Amazing, guys. Round of applause. Again, Sunderland is more in the title race than some of the other teams. So, all jokes aside, they are third in the league, right? But I still, again, a little bit just... This is not the table sort of vibes. Like, this is kind of how I feel they are stacked across everybody else throughout the season, regardless of how the table looks like right now. Because at the same time, the schedule, while they just got to play Chelsea, so that was what's impressive for me. It's where they got bumped up a tier. They played Chelsea at the bridge, which is like their first real, like they beat United they played United at Old Trafford. They lost. That was sort of like for me like a little bit of a litmus test, and they kind of failed that. Then they went to the bridge and they beat Chelsea. That's great for the algorithm. Great for the algorithm. And it's great for the algorithm for all 3. Brentford beating Liverpool, Villa beating City. Absolutely incredible. Thank you very much for these 3 teams. Let's move on. Dangerously quiet. So, Newcastle and Brighton, we both know, on their day, are very good teams. They could be anybody in the league. They could be giant killers themselves on certain days. Newcastle been below expectations so far this season. Brighton, I think, right about where you think they are, which is like they can beat giant killers, and then the next week they can be like they can sort of kind of be a below par here, right? And a week ago, or 2 weeks ago, right, I had them on the tier, so whoever wins is going to go higher up. It was like that for a week, but then there was the results reversed. And then Brighton looked a bit poor against Man United, but I think that's credit to United more than anything else. And we'll get to that aspect of it when we touch on United. And Newcastle, they need to win. They delivered. They beat Fulham at the end, at the death. Bruno Guimaraes gave them the win. And they're right back kind of where they were 2 weeks ago in terms of on the same tier. And I think their form is very comparable. They're teams that, again, Newcastle, anytime big teams come to St. James's Park, you think there's an opportunity for them to drop points. But at the other side of it, though, Newcastle have yet to really find proper consistency this year. And one thing I did say last week, which, we can throw it out for at least for a week, was I said they were Walter Mata reliable. They were over-dependent on Voltermod to deliver the goals. This week, Murphy and Guimaraes score. So, and I thought overall Newcastle were well worth of 3 points. And by the way, you have to give them credit as well. Their Champions League performance against Benfica was really, really good as well. So Newcastle seems to be doing well, but every time I do that, they come down. So this is my last thing before I move on to the next part of the tier. And I think it applies to both. They got to show a little bit more consistency. So for Brighton, it's all well good to go and beat Newcastle the way you did, and then they got absolutely bombarded by United. Now look, they looked as though back in the game. They've got great fighter spirit. They're a team that's always going to hang around, and I think that applies to both these sides. And that's why they're quietly dangerous. Next up, better than expected. And that goes from both of these sides. Look, Crystal Palace, as I've mentioned, but I've mentioned less. I had my doubts in them when, they lost Eze. And I've always been saying that I thought Glasner has done an amazing job with this team this year. And again, I'll say what I said before to Fulham last week. No shame to lose to Arsenal. By the way, this time, though, it was Eze who losing Eze did come back to bite them, literally, because Eze was the one who handed them the L. But overall, I think a lot of people expected there to be a bit of a drop-off from Crystal Palace this year, despite being well coached. And they're doing a lot better than everyone expected. They're coming down to earth just a little bit. Now they're back at 10th in the league. So they're kind of coming back to kind of like where you expect them to be. But overall, they beat Liverpool. They just, of course, they wasn't really offering much of an attacking threat at the Emirates. And that's sort of kind of the big issues here with them. But yeah, I think they've outperformed in general. Just if you look at their performances, like Mateta, we spoke about him last week. Those goals, those performances are there, and I expect them to kind of come back. Not every week are they going to play Arsenal at the Emirates. And let's get to Manchester United. I want to go back. I don't want to rip into Cal because, by the way, subscribe, hit the QR code, subscribe to Parody of First Thing. Cal still is in Japan, by the way. He will be back, not this week, but the week after, so we're all looking forward to that. But still tune in this week. Last week's episode was fire. This week's episode, basically just because you see what's going on with some of our rivals, and it just feels so good to be a Gunner right now. But anyway, back to Manchester United. And let's really talk about Manchester United. Yeah, Cal had him in the dumps. He said, I had him at a certain level. He goes, no, I want you to put him, I think you should put him even lower. And since that point, I think Man United, basically since that embarrassment to Brentford, United have gotten better. They won 3 in a row. People starting to believe again in Ruben Amorim. We are 2 wins away from United Strand cutting his hair. This has been a United that's now just looking rejuvenated. And when everyone counted them out, everyone thought they were dead. And now they're 6th place in the Premier League. Yeah, I look. I think I had them around there in the league as well. By the way, when I predicted the season, but their form is going up. Their confidence is going up. Cunha finally got his first goal for United, and Bruno again. He's now finding form. He scored the opener against Liverpool last week. He scored 2 this week against Brighton. Capped off the win as well. And yeah, that front three is looking fluid. But Benjamin Sesko, I know he didn't score in this game, but he's creating an understanding with Cunha and Mbeumo. Ahmad is looking really, really good. He's looking really dangerous. The defense is got something going. They can switch from a back 3, back 5 to back 4. You can see how they're doing that throughout the game, and that whatever Room is trying to do is starting to kind of, I feel like, get drilled into the heads of the United players, and it's starting to look like something. And I don't know quite sure if they are. I could say I've made jokes about them being in a title race, but look, I think they should be in the race for Europe now. You're there already. You might as well try to push it, go up. I understand the fear mechanisms, and United could very much go on another bad run this year. I wouldn't be surprised. But for now, they're given the banter people have been giving this team, and I've been in group chats, and people are all like putting United down and saying that their clubs will finish above them, and United might not finish top 10 and all this stuff. And United are the 6. That's as good as you can put it. Like they're people set the expectations so low for them that now that they're exceeding them. Three wins in a row. Look, there's only going to be a certain amount of time if they keep winning that I'm going to praise them for their victories or be happy about it. Although I'm going to try my best to be unbiased, of course, as well. But well done. There's a lot of smiling United fans that I didn't expect. And I'm happy to see it. I'm happy to see it. But hopefully not smiling too much. All right, next up. Top 4 ceiling. This is my favorite one. So you notice a little certain Liverpool in here. So first of all, let's go to the other ones and then we'll get to Liverpool. Bournemouth at the moment is Arsenal's most immediate title rival according to the table, which is why we have the tiers. This is not the table. But credit to Bournemouth. They've been more consistent this season than Liverpool. They've been more consistent this season than Manchester City. They've been more consistent this season than Chelsea, than Tottenham, than United, than Newcastle, than Villa. The only team more consistent this season than Bournemouth are the league leaders Arsenal. Much praise. Semenyo having a great season. By the way, there's that you see that goal that they scored from the corner? People talking about set piece FC for Arsenal. That was freaking phenomenal. The ball went directly in from Tavernier into the corner of the net. Woo! Whipped in directly from the corner. That was freaking awesome. What a goal. I mean, underrated. Nobody's talking enough about it. Just because I guess Arsenal and City were playing at the same time. But Bournemouth at the moment, they're in a title race. Don't look now, but the title of this tier is top 4 ceiling, and that's kind of at the end of the day where I think they'll be. Again, I said earlier in the year, I said this year's Forest, and I think that's just about right. I think they're going to push for Europe eventually. Again, it's the first quarter of the season. Things seem to start to even out as the season goes on. I don't expect Bournemouth really to be second. Like, this is kind of like their best form of the year. This is kind of like their peak. But enjoy it. I mean, from Bournemouth fan, I'm looking at that thing and I'm like, that's how I feel about Arsenal right now. But in a different way, because I just feel like, we're just going to stay there. But for Bournemouth fans, it's a screenshot moment. That would have been another great. You know what? If Bournemouth keep winning, and let's say they earn their way higher up the tiers than the team that's in the second tier, I'm going to call that tier screenshot moment. Screenshot that bad boy. But at the moment, screenshot that bad boy, Bournemouth fans, because you're a second. in the Premier League. And when I said this year's Forest, I heard people starting to say this year's Leicester. Now, the difference is that Leicester were just on top the whole year, and people were like, what the hell they're doing there? Anyway, Chelsea, for me, I was saying last week how I think that they're going to start to be consistent and that they've kind of dropped that inconsistent tag. And of course, what do they go ahead and do when I say that? They lose at home to Sunderland. The most Chelsea thing in the last 5 years, I'd say, that they could do. Beat Liverpool, and then after a 2-week break, or and a bit, whatever, because they also played last week, right, against Forest. And they're right, beat Forest, and then come home and lose to Sunderland. This was not a good game by any means by their defense. I thought at times that they looked susceptible on the counter, especially at the times that, Sunderland used that to score. And yeah, look, they went up in this game. You thought, okay, here they go. I was right. I think they're going to start to beat this team that's going to be a little bit more consistent and stop with the stupid results. And then they dropped the ball from there. But yeah, again, some of these teams are showing me from these types of analyses that they are not capable of being in a title race in general. Bournemouth would be exception. Tottenham Hotspur. Then I've skipped one, you can see. Very impressed. Again, inconsistent. Like, you look at the result before, right? They lost to Villa at home, and they go to the Hill Dickinson, and they batter Everton, really. The team that looked lost at set pieces under Ange Postecoglou is now looking phenomenal at set pieces under Thomas Frank. And then 2 goals from the corners. I thought Tottenham were solid. I thought Tottenham were controlled. There were times again where Beto was holding the ball up well and bringing guys into play for Everton in certain periods of the game. But Tottenham, I just never felt like Tottenham had lost the control of the game at any point. Besides the time that they conceded the corner themselves, but it got ruled out from VAR. And now to Liverpool. 4 defeats in a row. I did an entire feature on them last week on Under Pressure. Go check it out. I can't do that again. I basically used all my best Liverpool insults. I can't spend another 70 minutes or so talking about Liverpool all on their own. That's exhausting. At a certain point, it stops becoming funny and it starts becoming real. And the reality of the situation is Liverpool are no longer in the title race. They had 4 defeats all season last year. And by the way, most of them came after they had already won the league and they were partying. They don't have that excuse now. They're not partying. They're depressed. They're going out back home with a bottle of whiskey in their hands and crying themselves to bed. Like, I was making fun of them. I thought it was hilarious. I was making jokes at their expense. I predicted their downfall. But I never to me thought it would get this bad. I said, look, I think Liverpool's going to bounce back from now after they beat Frankfurt, right? And now, it's just sad. 4 defeats in a row. I've never heard of a team losing 4 in a row in a season and going on to win the league. If that were to happen, I will eat my crow and I will say, well, fair played. History is there to be broken. But this is not the type of history you want. 4 defeats in a row. I don't know the last time that Liverpool have lost 4 in a row. Ever. In the Premier League. I don't remember Klopp ever losing 4 in a row. Maybe he did. Liverpool fans in the comment section, let me know. I know you guys run away from me because I got nothing but, jokes coming your way, and you guys can't take criticism. But nah, you're no longer in the title race for me. That's it. Title race over. For the team that was meant to be running away with the Premier League is running away from you. I said that on Six Sided last week. It didn't hit as well as I thought it would. But that's just me. That's just me. I'm saying things early. But boy, I take a victory lap on this. I told y'all they weren't winning the league. Not only were they not running away with it, they weren't winning the league. I avoided it. If you noticed in my two picks, pre-transfer window before Eze signed for Arsenal, I said I thought maybe City would win the league. And then, after Eze signed for Arsenal, I said Arsenal's winning the league. I never, ever, you can go back on all the videos, back from the start of me being on the terrace, back to this summer when we were talking about transfers. I maintained that Liverpool were not the favorites and they were not winning it. And we were only 1/4 of the way into the season and they're already eliminated from contention for the title. Don't tell me it's too early. There's a precedent for this. Even Hassam said it. Top 4 ceiling. And that top 4, by the way, could be 3rd, by the way. But no title race for Liverpool anymore. That's it. Nada. Finito. More on that again when we get to Under Pressure later on in the week. Next up, second best. I still think that there's potential here for Man City, given this is purely respect coming to a certain Pep Guardiola and what he's built over the years, and some of the players in that team that have got winning history. For the best striker in the world who's been banging goals. And again, this is only their first loss in a while. But I mentioned last week that I was going to be eyeing them up, playing away at Villa, because their fixtures, really since they left the Emirates, were easy. And now, they had one toughie on the road, and they just look so beatable. They look like they had no answers. Matty Cash put the ball in the corner of the net. Great strike from him. And I don't know why, but even in my head, I was like, that's it. This is so different than Man Cities of the past. When you're like, okay, all right, fine, other team scored, whatever, but we all know what's going to happen next. I don't have that feeling anymore. I genuinely don't have that feeling anymore. Now, this is a pure respect, and this is kind of where I'm coming at you right now. I don't think that City deserve to say top 4 ceiling, because I think that's too much. They haven't put in the form that Liverpool have. This is one defeat. But they're supposed to be pushing, people saying, Arsenal better watch your backs. I still trust them more in a title race. Everyone just trying to back every single person that is in their team. And I'll get to it now. That's at the top of the tiers once again. The Arsenal. Best in class and is undisputed at this point. Do you see? I'm looking. Is there a challenger for the Arsenal in the Premier League? Anybody wants to come challenge us for the title? No takers? Okay. At the moment, Arsenal is so consistent. Even in our drop points this season, it was to Liverpool and to City. Liverpool away from home, it took a just incredible free kick strike by Dominic Szoboszlai. Otherwise, they're never scoring from open play. City literally put their entire team behind the ball because they knew if they didn't, Arsenal would have beaten them. And everybody else, they look. I'll quote Terry because I think this is funny. Is doing this. they're people come to play the Arsenal and they literally go into the defense mode right away. And I'm not complaining about it. What I will use is to justify the narratives. And I've got podcasts. Again, hit the QR code. Fire Them Cans podcast. We'll be talking about, we'll delving more into Arsenal, of course. And in the narratives that people have thrown at Arsenal, it's going to be a great show this week. But I will use the fact that teams are putting the whole teams behind the ball and trying to suck up as much space as possible and really not committing anything at all into attack or trying to attack whatsoever. I will use that not as a complaint about the games, because that's just football. That's part. Defense is a very key part of the game. If a team's able to hit a low block on us and we didn't break them down, you know what the criticism is going to be? We didn't break them down. Because you shouldn't be surprised that that's what's happening. But what I am surprised about is teams that are very, very attacking in other games. For instance, a Palace who played Bournemouth. By the way, just go to a quick comparison. The team that's second in the league. And they put 3 past them. And they definitely looked like they were going to go out to attack them. But then they come to Arsenal, nothing. Now, I thought that they won that Arsenal played their role in like not being able to get the ball past the first man. And I think they played some really good individual defense, did Palace. And by the way, it's another just Oliver Glasner again. Great manager. Great managers doesn't always mean that it looks great, beautiful football, and everything looks amazing attacking-wise. That's what I keep trying to tell you. The best tacticians know how to set up a great defense. And yeah, it took us a magical scissor kick from Eze off of a corner for us to win. But here's the other part, back into best in class. 3 goals all season in 9 matches. That's 0.33 goals conceded per game. That's on pace for 14 goals conceded, which would break the record for the least amount of goals conceded in a season. A record that Rory Jennings himself this week said that he believes it's still impossible for anyone to break. People aren't, forget about, when you're doing your hate-alongs, hoping that teams score against Arsenal. Teams aren't even getting a shot on target. I knew they credited one to Palace this week, although I don't remember it. Since Voltemata scored, it was like 260 plus minutes since a team got a shot on target. Until somehow, some point, without the commentators letting me know, Crystal Palace had a shot on target. It's like once Arsenal scored, teams drop their heads. Arsenal is consistent. That's the thing. Arsenal is the team that has the bit between their teeth, who is putting together the title level of form and we are looking like head and shoulders, not even close, the class of the Premier League right now. And it sounds like hyperbole, but it's just the truth. You know it's the truth when everybody else is saying it, not just me. I know what rivals are doing. They're trying to bait us into a historic bottle job by saying, this is Arsenal's title to lose. If Arsenal do not win, I'll be incredibly shocked. And you know who's saying that stuff? Chelsea fans in general. And that's because deep down, they're hoping that we bottle it. They keep using the term bottle. It's very negative, but I hate to disappoint you, fellas. I'm loving it. I agree. It is ours to lose, but I'd say more, it's ours to win. The Premier League, we've got 29 games left. Be solid, consistent in those 29 games. We have a 6-point lead over City, 7-point lead over Liverpool. And for those who want to be very technical, 4-point lead over Bournemouth. Everything's in Arsenal's control. Just stay solid. Just do what you're doing at the moment. Just stay solid, stay controlled. Don't let anything crazy happen. And that Premier League trophy could have red and white stripes on it by the end of the year. Finally. It would be amazing. I'm not counting my chickens yet for all those things. Don't get ahead of yourself. Don't get ahead of yourself. I'm not. But we're the best in class. Through nine weeks, heading into match day 10 at the quarter point of the season. That's what these tiers are, by the way. Best in class over the first quarter of the season. This is like your quarter season review. And Arsenal have been easily the most consistent team in the first quarter of the season. Guys, let me know your thoughts on the tiers. This is one of my favorite tier lists this year, by the way. Absolutely one of my favorite tier lists this year. I loved the names I made for them. I was smiling. That's why I jumped to the mic so quick on this week. Usually I'm delivering this to you on a Friday or a Saturday. I'm like, nah, we're going up on a Tuesday and we're going to freaking do this. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, guys. Let me know in the comment section below if you were to change anything in these tiers. What do you guys think? Do you think it's Arsenal's title to win? Please, I would love to see you in the tier, in the comment section. For the love of God, try to tell me who you think is Arsenal's main title rival. Maybe I can put this in a poll. Is it City? Is it Bournemouth? Is it Sunderland? Because it certainly ain't Liverpool. Losing 4 in a row while we win 4 in a row is not title form. That's 12 points swing. Do you realize at one point Arsenal were 5 points behind Liverpool after a draw at home to City? And now we're 7 points clear. In only 4 weeks it took us to do that. Anyway, guys, that'll be the end of my video. Thank you very much again for watching. This was a 47-minute of me doing these tiers because I just was I freaking loved it so much. Anyway, guys, hopefully we got some videos coming out. We want to having a video a week. I'm gonna hold myself to it, right? So I'm gonna get some videos coming, guys, this week. Watch out, by the way. We are gonna be on Six-Sided on Friday morning for Australians, Thursday night for my UK viewers, because of course that's my target audience. We've got the match review for the Brighton game I'm hoping to be on as well. But Arsenal against Brighton in the Cup. And fire them cannons, of course. Hit the QR code. But until next time, guys, Anton out.